Welcome to the new video of NeuroPhilos. Get ready to dive into a gripping tale that will leave you breathless, thinking, and inspired. Whether you're here for the mystery, the drama, or the unexpected twists, you're in the right place. Make sure to hit that like button, drop a comment, and subscribe so you never miss another powerful story. Let's begin. The real reason you scroll. Most people who spend hours scrolling every day believe they know why they do it. They tell themselves it's harmless, a way to relax, a way to shut the mind off after work, a small reward after a long day. And on the surface, that explanation feels reasonable. After all, what's wrong with a few minutes of distraction? But something much deeper is happening beneath that simple gesture of the thumb. Scrolling is rarely a conscious choice. It happens automatically, almost reflexively. You open your phone without deciding to. You refresh without remembering why. You move from one post to the next without taking anything in. And when you finally stop, you don't feel rested. You feel oddly empty, overstimulated, and vaguely dissatisfied. This alone should tell us that scrolling isn't true relaxation. The popular explanation is technology addiction, dopamine, algorithms, attention economy. While all of that plays a role, it barely touches the real problem. Byung-Chul Han argues that blaming technology is too easy. It treats the symptom and ignores the condition that made the symptom necessary in the first place. The deeper issue is that modern life has lost density. Days feel thin, experiences feel flat, time passes, but little leaves a mark. Many people wake up, work, commute, eat, scroll, sleep, and repeat. Not because they want to live this way, but because life has been organized to function smoothly, efficiently, and predictably. And predictability slowly drains meaning. When life loses texture, the mind begins to starve. The body remains tense, always alert, always reacting. The mind stays busy, always occupied, but rarely engaged. Conversations are interrupted. Silence feels uncomfortable. Waiting feels unbearable. Moments no longer open into anything deeper. They simply pass. In this condition, the brain doesn't crave information. It craves feeling. It craves intensity, novelty, movement, anything that breaks the dull sameness of routine. Scrolling offers exactly that. Endless variation without commitment, stimulation without effort, novelty without risk. Not because it is good, because it is available. This is why scrolling often increases when life feels most empty. When work feels meaningless, when relationships feel distant, when days blur together, the phone becomes an escape valve for a reality that no longer holds attention on its own. Han describes this condition as the hell of the identical, a world where everything looks different on the surface but feels the same underneath, where change happens constantly yet nothing truly transforms, where life repeats itself without surprise, depth, or pause. In such a world, scrolling becomes a kind of anesthesia. It numbs boredom. It softens the discomfort of being present in a life that doesn't fully engage the senses or the soul. The feed doesn't fulfill you, but it distracts you from noticing that nothing else is fulfilling you either. This is why willpower rarely works. You can delete apps, set timers, block websites, and still find yourself restless, irritated, and craving something. Because the urge to scroll isn't about the phone. It's about what the phone is replacing. Scrolling is not the cause of emptiness. It is what emptiness looks like when it tries to survive. And this changes the entire question. The issue is no longer, how do I stop using my phone so much? The real question becomes, what kind of life makes constant distraction necessary? Until that question is faced honestly, the habit will return in new forms. But once you begin rebuilding a life with presence, texture, beauty, and real engagement, something surprising happens. The phone doesn't need to be fought. It slowly loses its appeal, not because you are stronger, but because reality becomes interesting again. The hell of the identical. Byung-Chul Han uses a disturbing phrase to describe modern life. The hell of the identical. It sounds dramatic, but the more you observe your daily experience, the more precise it becomes. This hell is not built from suffering or chaos. It is built from repetition, smoothness, and predictability. At first glance, modern life seems full of variety. New posts every second, endless content, infinite opinions, faces, images, trends. Yet internally, everything begins to feel the same. Days blur together, emotions flatten, experiences leave no trace. The surface changes constantly, but underneath, nothing truly shifts. This is the paradox of the digital age. We are surrounded by stimulation, yet starved of transformation. In earlier forms of life, difference carried weight. A journey felt like a rupture. A meeting felt meaningful. Silence created space for reflection. Today, difference is consumed instantly. New becomes old in seconds. Nothing lingers long enough to reshape us. Everything passes, and because it passes so quickly, nothing deepens. The mind adapts to this environment by lowering its expectations. It stops hoping for surprise. It stops trusting that reality will offer anything truly engaging. Instead, it learns to skim, to glance, to sample, to move on. Scrolling fits perfectly into this flattened world. The feed promises endless variation, but delivers repetition. Different faces, same emotions. Different stories, same structure. Different opinions, same tone. Even outrage becomes predictable. Even beauty becomes standardized. Algorithms learn what holds attention and reproduce it endlessly, smoothing out difference until it becomes safe, familiar, and dull. This is what Han means when he says the different has been tamed. Nothing shocks, nothing unsettles, nothing demands that you stop and rethink who you are. Everything is designed to be consumed quickly and forgotten immediately. And over time, this changes the way you experience life itself. Reality begins to feel slow in comparison. Quiet moments feel empty instead of full. Waiting feels unbearable. Doing one thing at a time feels insufficient. The mind trained on constant stimulation starts to experience stillness as a problem. In this context, scrolling is no longer just entertainment. It becomes a coping mechanism for a life that feels too uniform to hold attention on its own. The tragedy is that this sameness doesn't arrive suddenly. It seeps in gradually. A little less curiosity here, a little less wonder there, a little less patience. Until one day you realize you are busy all the time, yet rarely moved by anything. Han warns that the hell of the identical erodes the human capacity for depth. When everything looks similar, nothing feels worth committing to. When nothing surprises you, nothing truly matters. The result is a subtle exhaustion, not physical, but existential. And scrolling intensifies this exhaustion while pretending to relieve it. Each swipe offers a micro escape from boredom, but also reinforces the very boredom it tries to soothe. It trains the mind to expect novelty without effort, stimulation without risk, meaning without involvement. Over time, real life begins to feel like a poor substitute. This is why so many people describe scrolling as both irresistible and unsatisfying. It is easy, immediate, and empty, like chewing gum for the mind. Movement without nourishment. The important realization is this: the problem is not that life is boring by nature. The problem is that life has been stripped of its edges, of its pauses, of its rituals, of its moments that ask you to slow down, pay attention, and be changed. The hell of the identical is not a prison imposed from outside. It is a condition we slowly adapt to, and scrolling is the behavior that helps us tolerate it. Understanding this shifts the focus again. The task is not to escape the phone. It is to reintroduce difference, unpredictability, and meaning into daily life. To create moments that cannot be skimmed, experiences that demand presence, encounters that resist repetition, because when life regains its ability to surprise, scrolling no longer serves a purpose. Beauty is not stimulation. There is a quiet misunderstanding at the center of modern life. The belief that what the human mind needs most is stimulation. Faster content, brighter screens, stronger emotions, more input. But stimulation alone does not satisfy the mind. In fact, when stimulation is constant and shallow, it slowly exhausts it. What the mind truly seeks is beauty. Beauty is not intensity. It is not novelty for its own sake. It is not the rush you feel when something flashes, shocks, or demands attention. Beauty has weight. It slows you down. It gathers your attention instead of scattering it. When you encounter beauty, even briefly, something inside you settles. This is why scrolling never satisfies for long. It stimulates, but it does not nourish. Byung-Chul Han argues that contemporary society has lost its relationship with beauty because it has lost patience, silence, and contemplation. Everything is judged by usefulness, speed, and productivity. Moments that do not do something are treated as wasted. As a result, life becomes efficient but hollow. In this environment, beauty is misunderstood as decoration or luxury, something extra, something optional. But beauty is not an accessory to life. It is one of the ways life becomes livable. Beauty reorganizes attention. When you look at something truly beautiful, a piece of music, a quiet scene, a human face seen with care, your nervous system responds differently. Breath slows, muscles soften, time feels less aggressive. You are no longer being pulled in multiple directions. You are here. Han points out that modern culture replaces beauty with stimulation because stimulation is easier to produce and easier to monetize. Beauty cannot be rushed. It cannot be consumed in fragments. It requires presence. And presence is precisely what the digital environment erodes. Yet beauty does not only exist in museums or dramatic landscapes. It lives in what Han calls micro-aesthetic experiences, small, ordinary moments that carry texture and care. A cup you like holding in your hands, a plate arranged with intention, morning light touching a wall, a familiar song listened to fully instead of playing in the background, a street you walk slowly just to notice it, a moment of silence where nothing is demanded from you. These moments seem insignificant only because we have trained ourselves to overlook them. When these subtleties disappear from daily life, the mind becomes opaque, attention grows restless, the nervous system remains on edge, and the hunger for stimulation increases. This is when scrolling becomes compulsive, not because it is pleasurable, but because the mind is undernourished. The key insight here is that stopping scrolling is not about repression, it is about substitution. You do not remove stimulation and leave a void. You replace shallow stimulation with depth, texture, and presence. When the mind is fed beauty, its appetite changes. What once felt irresistible begins to feel artificial. The feed has no temperature, no smell, no resistance, no silence. Compared to lived beauty, it feels thin. Neuroscience supports this. The brain naturally pays more attention to what it perceives as harmonious, meaningful, and pleasant. When attention rests on these qualities for longer periods, it produces states of calm engagement, the opposite of the anxious dispersion caused by constant digital input. This is why beauty has a quiet power. It does not fight distraction, it dissolves it. Placing beauty back into daily life does not require grand gestures. It requires intention, slowness, small acts of care, lighting a candle, choosing softer light, sitting without rushing, listening instead of consuming. These are not aesthetic preferences. They are acts of resistance against a world that reduces experience to noise. When reality becomes beautiful again, not perfect, not dramatic, but felt, the digital world loses its anesthetic role. Scrolling stops being a refuge. It becomes unnecessary, not because you decided to quit, but because you finally have something better to stay with. Rituals give life shape. Beauty alone is not enough if it has nowhere to settle. For beauty to remain alive in daily life, it needs structure, and structure, when it is lived with awareness, becomes ritual. Without rituals, days collapse into routine. And routine without awareness is one of the most fertile grounds for boredom, restlessness, and compulsive scrolling. Modern life has largely erased rituals without replacing their function. In earlier times, people moved through the day with natural transitions. Waking, working, eating, resting, and sleeping were marked by small gestures: washing the face, sharing a meal, walking in silence, lighting a candle, saying a prayer, closing the door. These actions were not dramatic, but they carried meaning. They told the mind, one phase has ended, another is beginning. Today, those thresholds are gone. We wake up and fall directly into the feed. We end the day and dissolve into the screen. Time no longer has edges. Everything blends into everything else. Byung-Chul Han describes this as the desacralization of time. When time loses its form, days become interchangeable. Nothing feels complete. Nothing truly begins or ends. And when life feels like an endless loop, the mind looks for anesthesia. Scrolling fills the gaps where rituals used to live. The most dangerous moments are the ones we treat as insignificant. The first minutes after waking and the last minutes before sleeping. These are the moments when the mind is most open, most impressionable. The brain is still in slower rhythms, close to dreaming. This is when emotional tone is set. This is when the nervous system orients itself. When the first thing you do in the morning is check your phone, you hand that vulnerable state to chaos. News, comparison, urgency, noise. The day begins already fragmented. At night, the same thing happens in reverse. Instead of signaling rest, you flood the mind with light, stimulation, and social tension. Sleep becomes shallow. The next day starts already tired. Rituals protect these thresholds. A morning ritual does not need to be elaborate. It simply needs to be intentional. Sitting on the edge of the bed and breathing for 2 minutes, stretching slowly, making tea or coffee without multitasking, looking out the window in silence. These gestures tell the body, we are here and there is no rush yet. An evening ritual does the opposite. It closes the day instead of letting it bleed endlessly. Turning screens off early, writing down a few small things you noticed, not achievements, just moments. Lowering the lights, sitting in quiet, letting the day end. These actions may seem small, but they restore something essential. Form. Where there is form, there is presence. Where there is presence, boredom loses its grip. Rituals are not about discipline or productivity. They are not about optimization. They are about reclaiming reality from automation. They give the body a sense of rhythm. They allow the mind to rest inside time instead of chasing it. When rituals are absent, scrolling takes over their role. It becomes the default transition between moments. But it is a poor substitute. It does not mark beginnings or endings. It blurs them further. Over time, ritualized days feel fuller, even if nothing extraordinary happens. Life regains texture. Mornings feel distinct from nights. Work is separated from rest. Silence becomes tolerable again. And something subtle shifts. The urge to check the phone weakens, not because you resist it, but because there is less space for it to fill. Rituals do not remove technology from your life. They place it in its proper position, outside the sacred thresholds, outside the moments that shape your inner state. When time regains structure, scrolling loses its power, because the mind no longer needs anesthesia to survive the day. Depth restores the will to live. There is a quiet crisis at the core of modern life that few people can name, but almost everyone feels: the loss of depth, not intelligence, not information, not stimulation. Depth, the ability to sink fully into something and remain there long enough to feel changed by it. Most people no longer experience this state. Attention has become thin, scattered, restless. Even moments that should feel meaningful pass without leaving an impression. And when nothing holds you deeply, everything starts to feel insufficient. This is one of the main reasons scrolling has become so powerful. The feed does not ask for commitment. It does not demand patience. It offers endless novelty in small, manageable doses. For a mind that has lost the ability to stay with one thing, this feels comforting, but it comes at a cost. The more the mind skims, the less capable it becomes of immersion, and the less it can immerse, the more empty life feels. Byung-Chul Han warns that contemporary culture has replaced contemplation with reaction. Experience becomes a sequence of clicks, swipes, and immediate responses. In this logic, attention never settles. It jumps, it grazes. It flees the moment something requires endurance. The result is a permanent inner restlessness. To restore depth is not a luxury or a spiritual hobby. It is a form of psychological survival. Depth allows the mind to rest inside an activity. It creates continuity. It brings pleasure that does not evaporate the moment the stimulus ends. Depth is what happens when you lose track of time because you are fully there. This cannot be trained on a screen. Every day, choose one activity that invites full absorption. It does not need to be impressive. What matters is that it is real and uninterrupted. Cooking a meal slowly, reading a novel without checking anything else, drawing, writing, playing an instrument, gardening, organizing something with your hands. These activities anchor attention in the body. At first, this will feel uncomfortable. The urge to check the phone will appear. The mind will look for escape. This is not failure. It is withdrawal from fragmentation. If you stay, something shifts. Attention begins to deepen. Time loosens its grip. The nervous system relaxes. And for a brief period, you experience what has become rare: wholeness. You are not split between stimuli. You are not reaching elsewhere. You are here. Even 30 minutes of this kind of absorption can reawaken a dormant part of the mind. And once this part is awake, shallow stimulation starts to feel irritating instead of attractive. But depth does not live only in activity, it also lives in nature. The human nervous system evolved in close contact with natural rhythms: light, wind, seasons, silence. When we disconnect from these rhythms, we lose regulation. Time becomes abstract. Anxiety becomes constant. Walking outside without headphones, watching the sky change, listening to leaves, birds, water. These experiences activate a form of attention that digital environments cannot replicate. Nature does not fragment attention. It gently gathers it. And finally, depth requires the courage to do nothing. Sitting in silence for a few minutes each day feels uncomfortable because silence exposes what distraction hides: restlessness, unprocessed thoughts, emotional residue. But this empty space is where inner life reorganizes itself. When you learn to tolerate stillness, scrolling loses its role. It only feels necessary when silence feels threatening. The last piece is the environment itself. Spaces shape attention. A room dominated by screens invites distraction. A space with books, textures, plants, light, and quiet corners invites presence. You do not need perfection. You need signals that the physical world matters. When depth returns to activity, to nature, to silence, to space, something fundamental changes. Life regains weight. Moments leave traces. Time feels inhabited instead of endured. And then the truth becomes clear. You never needed to fight scrolling. You needed to rebuild a life deep enough to stay in.